Absolutely. I can hear you.
Well, very good, Travis. Well, thank you very much. Well, we've been talking here tonight about human trafficking. We've been talking about the problems the Watchtower organization is actually involved with covering up child molesters.
Yes.
Uh, Now, we do have, I believe you do know Star. She's on here. She just went through it and told us her story. Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that clicking has stopped. Okay. So, Travis, you were an attorney in Stewart, Florida. I
Yes.
used to live in Florida. I know where Stewart is. You live in a beautiful state, Travis. I'll say that.
Thank you. Yes. It's an honor and privilege to live in the state of Florida. That's for sure.
It really is. And, anyways, Star told her story of human trafficking or sex trafficking in the Watchtower organization. Have you heard this from other Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah. Unfortunately, in addition to being a lawyer, I'm an Eagle Scout and a Christian. So I have I really, my heart goes out to all of these survivors of Jehovah's Witness and the terrible things that they've been enduring. It's unimaginable, some of the stories that I hear, but this we're hearing the same. I'm hearing the same stories over and over again, and the survivors that we have and we're representing are brave. They are the true heroes in this. They're stepping forward against a powerful, well-funded organization, but an evil organization, and we're here to fight them.
Exactly.
Well, I'm so glad that you're wanting to come on and at least let the audience know there is help for people. If they can just contact you and talk with you, you can give them a lot of suggestions. Now, we had three people, actually 3 or 4 people call in tonight that have been molested in the organization. And many of them are just stepping forward for the first time. But Travis, I'm sure you're aware of it being in the law profession, that in the last few years, really, there's been a lot of changes in the window of being able to report sexual abuse. So you're totally aware of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the sad thing is that there's a number of survivors that are coming forward that were abused in the 1970s, the 1960s. We're talking to them now. They've had to endure and live through this torture in their minds and have to relive it over and over again without being able to seek justice. And what I'm a civil lawyer. I don't do criminal work. But I often find is that the trafficking survivors, the sexual abuse survivors, they don't get the justice from the criminal justice system, and so that's why we're pursuing lawsuits against Jehovah's Witness, LDS, and other human trafficking organizations to bring them to justice, because unfortunately the criminal justice system doesn't always do it for them.
Well, how big? I mean, we were talking earlier, talking with some of the callers calling in, as well as, of course, with our good friend Star. Now, is this the tip of the iceberg? Is this? I'm sure it's not being exaggerated by the media at all, but I mean, is this bigger than we think, Travis?
I think it's much bigger, and I mean, I have to obviously have attorney-client privilege, and I have to be very careful with all that. But people like Star who come forward, they're the tip of the spear. I think they're the tip of the iceberg. You're going to have, once we have these brave individuals who come forward and tell their story, I think you're going to have an effect across the country, across the world, of other survivors who are willing to come forward and say, it was me too. I too was abused. I was molested, and honestly, the trauma itself often causes people not to be able to recall and remember a lot of those things that happened to them way back when. But when things like this start to move forward, all of a sudden they start to think and they have memories again, and that's when that comes forward. And that's going back to your question with regards to what is essentially a statute of limitations issue, is that anybody who, under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, if you were trafficked or abused while you were a minor, there's what we call a 10-year statute of limitations from the time you turn 18. However, there is a discovery rule that basically says that you have to connect what happened to you and trafficking, and that's when the actual statute of limitations can run. So it's not, and in general, even for adults who are trafficked, it's a 10-year statute of limitations. But there are ways to get around that.
So I'm just thinking out loud more than anything. It's a hard thing for people to come on and talk about what happened to them when they were youngsters. As I was saying earlier to Star in the audience, I knew a woman once that was just scared to death to even bring it up. And that's kind of like old school. I think what's happening now in the modern world we're living in, Travis, is more and more people are willing to say, hey, look at this happened to me and get out and talk about it. So when you would prepare a case like this, I mean, I'm sure it's not a slam dunk. In some cases, I'm sure that's even difficult to really get whoever you're charging with these crimes or charging with these charges. They're going to deny, just like the Watchtower. I mean, it's brutal, and they have a whole battery of lawyers, and so you do have an idea of the Watchtower's. Well, I'll call it sneakiness. I mean, they really do behave in a way that's not normal. When people go into court with them, boy, they will lie through their teeth. But you must see this in all court cases. Really, when you think about it, a lot of people will lie. But what would you, in other words, if a person called in and said, Travis, I was abused in the Watchtower organization, I need your help. Where would you, I mean, just to make sure the person is credible and not just seeking some type of damage for no real reason, how would you qualify a person to take a case on?
Well, I think that's a great question because if anyone who tries to step forward and have a case against an organization like Jehovah's Witness, I mean we're in for a fight. We're in for a big fight. This is a big evil organization, well funded, and has no interest in rolling over. And if a plaintiff comes forward and they don't have a credible case, if they think they're going to go through this process and think that they're going to be able to get through it and get compensated with a false story, it's not going to happen because Jehovah's Witness, a lot of these organizations, I've been going up against defendants for 18 years now, and these defendants, they're well funded. They put you through the process. They'll depose you. They'll depose your family. They'll depose your friends. They'll depose your relationships. That's why people like Starr and other people who are coming forward and willing to fight this fight. It is a very courageous position that they're going through because it's not going to be easy. They're not going to make it easy on anybody. And we do have to check for credibility and make sure everything's done properly. But the more and more I talk to, and we have a number of clients who are survivors of Jehovah's Witness, and the patterns are very similar. The two witness rule, the confronting the judicial panels, the whole thing from beginning to end, over and over again is the same pattern that we're seeing with Jehovah's Witness. And it's a system built for predators to infiltrate and take advantage of. And we're here to hold them accountable. We're here to bring them justice, but it's not going to be easy.
Very good answer. In fact, at one time here in the Six Screens was brought up that there was so much abuse going on in the Watchtower. It's been brought up. Some have said that, my child was abused in the Watchtower. I'm just going to get in my SUV, drive up to Warwick, New York, and knock on the door and have them write me a check. I mean, it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
No.
I do believe we have a caller that would like to come in. 602, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, this is Gilbert, and I'm glad the lawyer's there, but Star used the word, and you guys are using the word trafficking. So for somebody who has no experience in this arena of child molestation, when I hear the word trafficking, what I think of is racketeering, mafia, and money. And I remember a friend of mine, well, not a friend, but he was a friend, but back in the day when he was doing illegal stuff, he told me, Gilbert, he goes, the police never show up when we're doing illegal. They bootlegged because they lived in a dry county. He goes, they only show up after we sell all of the beer. I go, why is that? He goes, because that's when we have the money. So my question had to do with this trafficking in Watchtower and these stories. The government doesn't seem to arrest people until the money's there. Is there money being transacted in these with these children in the Jehovah's Witness religion? That's what I think about, because that's, I think, what gets the Fed's attention. I may be wrong on this, but is there a financial trail that could actually eventually lead to people that are the head of these trafficking networks.
I'm not quite sure. So what would the question be, Gilbert? What would the actual question be? Narrow it down. You there with us? So what I gather here is I think what Gilbert is saying, I'm not quite sure, but I think he's saying that, when push comes to shove, money kind of talks and it goes away. I mean, does that happen, Travis? I've had some people on our program before say that, they're bringing suits, but somehow, some way, the lawyers or judges or someone got paid off. I mean, could that happen? And does it happen?
I mean, it absolutely can happen, and it does happen. I mean, the more that I've been into this world, the more complicity I see. I think law enforcement does a great job, but just like any profession, there's bad actors, and it's also legislatures. I mean, I know that talking with a number of people, other states. I'm in Florida, but I practice across the country when we do the mass tort type of work, including Jehovah's Witness, because we'll file pro hoc vice in different states. So we've got clients in Arizona, New York, and across the state. But there are states where there was a push for legislation, but all of a sudden it died out of nowhere, and no one has any explanation for how it died. What happened to it and everything, except we all know that these organizations are very well funded. They have very sophisticated lobbying efforts, and if they want to make something go away, they'll make something go away. So I'm not surprised. I think what the caller was also talking about is something that we're also looking into. And there's an organization, the Gideon Force, that I'm affiliated with, and they do the great investigation work that we're doing. But we're looking at civil RICO cases, and so the racketeering that he was kind of mentioning, that's a vehicle by which we can actually attack organizations, because there is essentially civil racketeering that's going on. It's the same type of thing that Al Capone was put away for on a criminal case. But RICO racketeering is definitely something that we're pursuing and looking into.
Well, thank you for that. In fact, speaking about legislators, in 2003, I live here in Massachusetts, and I went down to Congressman Lynch, his office in Boston, and he spent a lot of time with me, good part of 3 hours, and we talked about child abuse and all kinds of sexual perversion, not only in the Catholic Church, but also in the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I brought some information to his attention that people were being molested sexually in the Watchtower. And he was very concerned with it. And he says, Mr. Fearon, he says, if you can come up with some summaries of people that have been molested, we will have a congressional hearing on that. So I did get summaries. And he says, you come up with those, we will call you into Washington, and you can testify what's going on in the Jehovah's Witness religion. So I got the summaries, as I say. I let him be aware of it. He said, okay, you just hold on, we'll get this organized. So I really, along with the people who wrote these summaries, we were looking forward to going and testifying before a congressional hearing. And someone put the kibosh to it. It just never took place,
I'm not surprised. No, it's like I said, it's a well-funded, oiled machine. They have the same game plan and game strategy that all these, the Catholic Church, the LDS, Jehovah's Witness, they all play for the same playbook. They have the same PR teams. They have the same. It's the same usual suspects, unfortunately, in a lot of different ways. So those same tactics, yeah, I 100% believe that that they're burying legislation. That there's shenanigans and bad things going on, but that's why we have to fight the good fight, because ultimately we have three options, right? One, we do nothing, and then this evil continues to perpetrate itself, and survivors no longer don't get the justice that that they're entitled to. Option two is that we fight and get paid off or something. Or option three, we fight the good fight. We put it all forward, and we do as much as we possibly can to destroy this evil.
Yep.
Well, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So Star, what do you think of that answer?
I think it's a great answer. Let's do it.
We're totally on board. I mean, we have one life to live, and
Exactly.
to be able to do and make a big impact in this world to help, curb this evil, to create justice for survivors. I mean, I'm all about it. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's about the children right now that are in it. So we need to speak up because there's kids right now that are being trafficked and that are being hurt inside this organization around the world. And we
yep.
really need to understand that. Like the longer we wait to tell our stories, the longer these children are being hurt.
Right. And that's 100% right, and that's why we do these cases on a contingency fee basis. We don't get paid unless we recover for our clients. So we're in for it for the long fight, but we're also obviously seeking compensation for clients for things that happened in the past. But we're trying to create standards and changes for the future, so that the children right now and the children in the future are not subject to the same horrors that these survivors have.
Well, I was thinking too, Travis, with the statute of limitations, as you were speaking about earlier. How about the state of Florida? What would be the statute down there? Is the window still open for many years?
Yeah, well, I mean, because primarily, if you're looking at the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which it's a very broad statute, it's a federal statute that was recently changed so that it's 10 years for adults, and it's basically there's no statute of limitations if you were trafficked while you're a child. Now, you're supposed to bring the case within 10 years after turning 18, but again, the ability to be able to connect what happened to you as trafficking is that's when the discovery rule comes into play. So that is the statute of limitations isn't a hard and firm rule when it comes to that. There's a statute to repose, and that's different. But it's because it's a federal statute, it applies in Florida just as it applies in Alaska.
Excellent. Well, that's good. In fact, it made our heart glad. The number of states in the last 5 years really have really got rid of that limitations, and it's opened up the whole new ball game for many witnesses as well as all people that have been abused. You don't mind if we take some telephone calls, do you, Travis?
No, absolutely not. I'm here to give. I'm here to contribute. That's I heard the voice of the Lord say, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I, send me." So, put the calls through. I'm happy to contribute.
Well, thank you, thank you. Well, hold on. Who's this here? Let's go with. We had a caller before you. Let's go to 978, and then we'll go to 828. 978. Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hi, Rick. Travis, I was wondering if I decided, let's say, I wanted to bring a case against the Watchtower. What are some of the, I'm going to use the term, dirty tricks that I can expect them to pull once I start my case?
That's a great question, and it's definitely something we try to we send out letters of expectations to our clients to let them know kind of what to expect. Dirty tricks, absolutely. I mean, even from a pure legal perspective, the things that they could do. Obviously, we seek protective orders for our clients for the things that they try to do. But I mentioned earlier, your family, your friends, your past relationships. They're gonna dig into you as far as they possibly can. They're gonna ask you questions. They're gonna put interrogatories, other discovery, requests for productions, requests for admissions through discovery, and then later they're going to depose you, and then they're going to depose your family. They're going to depose your friends. They're going to depose your past boyfriends and girlfriends. Your ex-husbands and wives. And they're going to try and find every single little dirt that they can because they don't want justice. They don't want to see victims compensated. They want to see this whole thing buried, and they want to embarrass you. They want to cause you to give up and fold. They want it to make it so hard for you that all you want to do is say, "I can't believe that I'm having to go through this, and it's not worth it."
Wow. Well,
So
thank you for that.
yeah, I mean it's a sad thing. I mean, and that's we file motions for protective orders all the time for our clients because the legal system is not meant to abuse and intimidate people, but those are the dirty tricks that you can expect.
Nice.
561. Thank you, Susan. 561. You're on with us. Go ahead. 561.
Hi, Rick. This is Carol Stanhope.
Hi, Carol. What would you like to say to Tara?
Hi. I just wanted to send my love and support to Star. I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness of 35 years and a human trafficking survivor here in West Palm Beach. I've been speaking out against human trafficking for 20 years now on a United Nations level. I have produced a documentary and I've written a book, and I'm currently in the process of writing my second manuscript. And I'm a big fan of your show.
Well, thank you.
And I was trafficked through the A Street congregation here in Lake Worth back in the 1970s, and that congregation and some of the sisters facilitated taking me to the island of Palm Beach and filming me in child pornography for 2 years until I escaped in 1978. So I am speaking with a couple of law firms. White and Luxembourg contacted me the other evening, and they're taking a look at it. But I'm just kind of looking at my options and, talking to, different lawyers.
Yeah, no, it's definitely wise, and make sure that it's a good fit for you and whatever your case is. It's going to be a big effort. I mean, a lot of the same law firms that are involved in some other torts are going to be involved in this, and we're going to have to. We're hoping to share discovery. We're hoping to share strategies, because again, like I said, it's a well-funded, well-oiled machine that we're up against, and we got to fight the good fight.
Yeah, exactly. I do know that. I was in the organization for 35 years, and I know how duplicitous and Machiavellian they are. So, yeah, I've been in the Palm Beach congregation here since I was a little kid, so I know their tactics.
Yeah, and thank you for your bravery, and thank you for creating that documentary and everything that you do. I mean, anybody, Star, yourself, this show, it's all, just such a benefit to everyone else who's out there who've had to experience this.
Well, thank you for your work, and God bless you, Star.
God bless you.
Well, Donnie from the United Kingdom, I think from England. Is that you, Donnie? You want to come on? Go ahead, Donnie.
Yes. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for letting me speak again. Yeah, can I just ask Travis, like when I've researched online the CSA court cases against the Watchtower Society, I found that they get away with it a lot because the CSA did not take place on Watchtower property. So isn't it better to go after the Jehovah's Witness that did the assaulting?
No, yeah, absolutely. Great question. I mean, ultimately, we're always looking for three things when it comes to cases. We're looking for liability, coverage, and damages. Liability, was Jehovah's Witness liable? Did they assist in the cover up? Were they notified of this, and then did they cover it up? Did they allow this type of thing to happen, or was it done within the scope of that employment? Coverage, the ability to pay. Clearly, Jehovah's Witness has the ability to pay. And damages, well, essentially, I don't know if there's anything more horrific than to be sexually trafficked and sexually abused, particularly as a child. So it's always the liability question is the big hurdle that we often have to overcome. So even if it doesn't happen, whether it happens in the congregation or in the temple, or if it happens in a home, which is we have a number of clients who were in a Bible study or some other thing, and where it was ultimately abused, raped, in those types of situations, we're still going after them because it was the Jehovah's Witness knew about it. They had to cover up. It's the same game plan we have with the Catholic Church and the LDS.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of work that's going to go on for years just to help one client, because there must be appeal after appeal after appeal.
Right. I mean, I think we're going to see a push sometime in the future for what we call a multi-district litigation, which allows for centralization of the cases. It's done a lot in pharmaceutical cases. It's done a lot in medical device cases. But there was an attempt to centralize the LDS cases a few months ago, actually in April, and it did not go forward. So it's difficult. The challenge is that there's so many different the actual scenarios for each of these survivors. It's not like they took a drug and they were damaged. Each one was, is all from, sexual abuse and rape while children, some as adults, sometimes by an elder, sometimes, all the factual situations are going to be different. So that's why these cases need to be brought individually. But, we're willing to take that chance. We're willing to do that work because we believe in these cases.
Yes.
Okay, that's brilliant. It's really brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
820. 820 is the 820, I believe. Yeah, 828 or something. Go ahead. You're on with us. Okay, let's go to 540. 540. You're on with us. 720. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick. I just wanted to ask Travis, as far as repressed memories are concerned, a lot of times when you're abused when you're little, then it comes out later. You start having nightmares and all of a sudden you just remember what happened, and more it starts to just come out. And, the witnesses have called that repressed memories, and then trying to say that just because you suddenly now remember it, that it's repressed, which means to them it's not true, and that they kind of had a stance on that it's not true because it's repressed. Well, repressed means, traumatized and locked down until you could feel safe enough to bring it back up. I think God made our bodies like that so that we could function and survive in this world. But do you see a lot of that not believing people because they didn't bring it out, and because the memories were buried for a while until they could feel safe to talk about it, and God allowed it to come forward,
No, I mean, I know, having gone through this with a number of survivors, that repressed memories, that this trauma, has all kinds of effects on the mental health of a lot of our clients. And so I believe, a lot of our clients, I don't have a problem believing them. If the question is that a tactic the defendants will use? Of course they're going to use it. They're going to they're going to try and say it's all made up, it's make believe, this was some figment of your imagination. But, candidly, like I said, the same patterns that we're seeing, in Jehovah's Witness, candidly, we're seeing in satanic ritual cases too. They mirror each other in a lot of different ways, and it's just an evil that we have to go against. But yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. God did create our brains in a way so that we can survive and thrive even when terrible traumas occur to us. And I think this radio show, Star, and other people who are coming forward, it's going to help to start the brain to feel like, hey, I can come forward and say something, and bring forward those memories now that I'm in a safer place. So yes, the defendants are going to say that, of course they are. But no, I think the science completely backs up repressed memories as a symptom of trauma.
Amen. I'm so glad. I mean, I just think that it's unfortunate that we have to bring things out so many years later, but I don't think they should be forever stuck in our hearts and minds and just forgotten about either, because I think that damages us. So if anything, even if you get cut down and told you're a liar and you made this stuff up and dredge up your past for, ruin your credibility and all that, I somehow feel like that it still is a stain on the person who did the thing, and it's worth it. If we could just make up our mind that this is just the way it's going to be, you're going to treat us like that, then we just decide that we're going to go through it anyway and bring it out. If only for our own soul's sake, that we put it out there into the light and brought a little bit of shame on that, the doing of that kind of thing. And that person would be, they would experience shame, but I say it should be that way. And so even if we don't win the case, I think that we still did the damage, and that's if everybody does it, it's going to make some changes, I hope.
No, absolutely. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I think about, Paul having to go to Rome. God called Paul to go to Rome to preach the gospel, and Paul knew what his fate was going to be in Rome. But by going through the process, he helped spread the gospel. He helped spread, the good news, and that's what we're doing here. I mean, the act itself, I think, is bringing light upon this darkness. And ultimately, I mean, obviously, I hate losing. I don't like losing at all, and I don't plan on losing. But I'm also not going to walk into this and say that a loss is a complete loss. No, bringing light into the darkness, that's a reward right there.
Darkness into the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis, how many cases are being won that you know of? I mean, not only your jurisdiction, but other ones. How many cases? I mean, are they paying out thousands of fees right now? Thousands of cases? Is it hundreds? I mean, I've heard there's a lot of silent payouts from Watchtower. Have you seen that?
Yeah, most settlements are going to be confidential. There's a reason for that. Obviously they don't want numbers to be thrown around, but that's also the reason why they don't want these cases to go to distance. A lot of the trafficking cases, aren't going to jury trials and verdicts because the last thing any of these organizations want is to have a huge number held over their head. I'm a big friend and follower of Mark Lanier. He's a Christian lawyer out of Texas. He hung a $6 billion verdict on Johnson and Johnson for talc. And now all the talc cases, the value of all the talc cases went up because they got a huge verdict against Johnson and Johnson for the asbestos in the talc. So what you're seeing is that Jehovah's Witness, LDS, the Catholic Church, they don't want to have a big number hung on them because the value of these cases are going to go up substantially if a big trial verdict is done. So yeah, what you're seeing, if you're hearing about any money exchanging, it's going to be in confidential settlement agreements, and that's good and bad. So we it comes with the legal territory in the United States.
Tracy, how does cybercrime forensics, digital forensics play into your strategy?
Great question. Actually, so I'm affiliated with an anti-trafficking organization. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Actually, so I'm affiliated with
hold on 1 second. Caller, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Is this 881? Is this 817 calling in from Texas? Okay. All right. Let's go back to 828. You're on with us. 828. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm one of the nation's first cybercrime instructors in the history of the country. And I'm a third generation Jehovah's Witness. And I still claim I worship Jehovah, but I'm working hard to destroy the network of pedophilia, not just, I've been, I work with the FBI team that took on the Vatican one, the Russian mafia, so forth and so on. And I reported in 1977, and I hear cases before then, talking on here, the first case documented involving child molestation of two elders' children, and I had like 4 witnesses, and they still covered it up. So that set me on a quest, and so my experience is true pedophilia is networked. They're going to be networked. You're going to find it. And that's why when you file a report to the police, you file it, and you have to have them do the digital forensics. They have to seize the laptop. They have to do DNA. And the longer it waits, the more late it comes. So quick action has to happen. Now, here's my problem with the witnesses. They are misapplying the 2-witness rule. The 2-witness rule in the first century did not apply to things they had to turn over to the Roman Empire, because even Paul said, "Is it for nothing that Caesar has the sword?" Therefore, this 2-witness rule, you're rarely going to get 2 witnesses with somebody raping a little child.
Never.
So you have to have collaborated evidence. The 2-witness rule does not apply in this case. It's not biblical. Your thoughts?
100%. And the application of the 2-witness rule, I think, is one of the travesties of this entire organization. That to say, you have one adult preying on one child, and because you don't have 2 witnesses, you can't bring forward the accusations. That's BS. It's just wrong. And it's part of the systemic issue that allows Jehovah's Witness to get away with this abuse. It's part of the reason why we're going after them, because they've basically set up a system for predators to prey on children and for predators to get away from it. And just like the Boy Scouts had predators that infiltrated their organization because they knew that they could take advantage of certain rules and systems, this is what's happening in Jehovah's Witness, and they know about it. They're covering it up. They're not changing the two witness rule, and they allow it to continue.
Right. It's incredible in the respect that I wrote a letter just prior to the new light on disfellowship, and I was the sponsor of that because I was disfellowship illegally, because I brought up some things about these shops that were being mandated by the organization as dangerous. They disfellowshipped me for that. They set me up, disfellowshipped me on Zoom, and I wasn't even allowed to attend. I even appealed it. And the appeal meeting was a sham. And then I tried to get reinstated 3 times with kind letters, and finally came to the conclusion of what was going on. And now I'm working on the inside. My next project to get the organization to recognize they're going to have to do something different. Number one, they're going to have to stop calling the elders. If somebody's sexually molested, do not call an elder. Call 911. I don't care if they do it. But keep in mind that there are people in law enforcement, in government, religions, corporations. The biggest, greatest travesty on this planet is child rape and molestation. It's going on so strong, and it's so. Therefore, you cannot call an elder without getting it covered up. You can't do it. So you got dial 911, demand that the laptops be seized, get DNA, because you can get collaborating evidence even though there was one witness, and you can convict. Now, you got to get out of the civil mindset and start thinking criminally. Criminally. I don't care. If I could get $1 trillion from an organization today, I wouldn't take it. I don't want the widow's pity. I do not want it. I want them to demand that they're not going to listen to complaints of child molestation and abuse until they call the police. And then after the police investigate, guilt or innocence is confirmed, then if you want to call an elder, be forward. Thank you, sir. I'm going to exit. God bless you, and I wish you well.
God bless you.
817 Texas. 817 Texas. You want to come on? Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hi, Rick. This is Stephanie. How are you?
Good, Stephanie. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, nice to hear you. Star, nice to see you. Thank you for being on. Travis, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to the community about this. And also, I thank you for representing me in my upcoming case. So we do have some questions that are coming up in the comments that I was hoping you might be able to address tonight. None of us here are legal minds like you. We've been trying to explain this amazing call for healing that you have offered your services to help the community to heal and to grow from this and to make changes for the future. Referring back to Nod very quickly, the issue of clergy penitent privilege was just passed in the state of Washington. But now the Department of Justice has picked that up and is reviewing it on a federal level for constitutionality, which, you know, is actually a good thing, because now we have the issue of clergy penitent privilege, the secrecy that you're explaining to us that is allowing this trafficking to continue. We have it going to a federal level at the same time that we're coming together collectively, raising our voices. So I do think we're standing in a very powerful moment, or a God moment, we might even want to call it. But people are asking about the technicalities of what this mass tort or class action. Is there one person that would be in the front of it, like a predominant person on the case, or is each case still dealt with on each of their own merit? There is some questioning there. I was hoping you might be able to help clarify, please.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. No, I think that's a great question and a great opportunity to clarify. So the way I look at it, there's basically three different types of cases is what you're looking at. There's what we call class action cases, there's mass tort MDL cases, and there's individual cases. Class action cases are kind of like your Bank of America, your bank, Wells Fargo does a fraud on, check cards and everybody gets a $25 check. That's not what we're doing. The mass tort cases, there's advantages and disadvantages to doing those. Some of the advantages is that there's centralization of discovery. There's one judge that oversees all these cases, so they understand the content and everything. The bad thing is that sometimes it gets lost in translation. The third option is to bring individual cases, which is essentially what we're doing because ultimately we would like to get to an MDL, which is not a class action. It's very different because if you think of the bank case, the bank, almost everybody who had the same check card issue has the same damages. But in a mass tort like Jehovah's Witness, one person may have been raped, unfortunately, several times as a child, and another person may have been, labor trafficked. One of the things that I don't think that obviously sexual abuse is rampant in Jehovah's Witness, and we have a lot of survivors coming forward on that issue, but we're also seeing labor trafficking issues and Jehovah's Witness using and abusing children for labor. And basically labor trafficking is occurring in that aspect too. So those type of damages are going to be different, and that's why it's not a class action. You're not going to have somebody at the forefront. Everybody's damage is going to be different. It's just like the Boy Scout cases. The Boy Scouts, again, you had some people who were sodomized and raped, unfortunately, and some people who were molested in different ways. So everybody's damages are different, and I think everybody's damages in Jehovah's Witness are going to be different as well.
Very good answer to the question.
Thank you.
I think I might have even misunderstood some of this myself, and I'm working directly with you. So thank you. So am I also to understand that you want to hear from labor trafficking victims of Watchtower?
Yeah, I mean, so say for instance, and again, I can't go into very specifics because I can't give away my client's attorney-client privilege and confidentiality, but children who were forced to work in restaurants or in farms or in other places, even forced to clean the temples or whatever. There's I'm happy to talk with people who of course unfortunately are dealing with sexual abuse, but if they were also forced into labor, basically child labor, happy to chat with them about that too.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. And each individual case will be heard on its own merit is also what I'm hearing. So I think I may have mistranslated some of the communication to the community. So I want to apologize for that now. And also very, very, very much thank you for being here to clarify these subjects for us. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your courage in coming forward because it's not easy. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Stephanie. In fact, when you brought up labor issues, Travis, that got my attention. I've talked about this before. And, many young witnesses are forced to go out in service and to peddle the magazines. They're like little salespeople. And that's an issue that's been brought up here before, but I never really looked at it as a labor trafficking. That's interesting. And even to go and clean the Kingdom halls could even be concerned that, I guess. So if anyone's listening in tonight and feels that their children are being abused or have been abused, well, Travis might be the man to talk to. We've got 540 Virginia. Come on, say hello to Travis. 540. All right. Well, we just had them on. So anyways, I want to bring this up to you too as well, Travis. In New York right now, there is a suit against the Watchtower, and named as the defendants are the governing body members. Now, there is some issues. I see we did lose Travis there, so we'll see if he can come back. Are you still with us, Travis? Okay, good. So anyways, the governing body is being, in the court paperwork, the governing body is being listed. Each individual member, there's 11 members. they're each being included in as a defendant. Now, this has happened before in San Diego, and some of the governing body members never showed up, and they were fined for doing that. Now, if this happens in New York, I mean, the Watchtower has a big billfold, let's go with that, so they can pay it. But at what point, I mean, can the court force the governing body to show up?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a great question. So, from a civil perspective, once we file the lawsuit, we serve the lawsuit on the defendants, the Jehovah's Witness organization, the individuals involved. If they don't respond within a certain period of time, they're defaulted, and if they're defaulted, we can get a default final judgment against them. So, from a civil perspective, that's the difference between a demand letter and a lawsuit. You can send a demand letter, but there's no requirement that they respond. But if you send a lawsuit and you serve them with it, they're required to respond, or you're going to basically get everything that you asked for in your lawsuit without them having a defense because they never responded. So, I don't know what happened in that case. It sounds as though the court sanctioned the defendants for failing to show up, which maybe they were being subpoenaed to court, maybe they're subpoenaed to a deposition, and they refused to show up. And then in that case, the court can sanction them, including fining them. But if the governing body, if the Jehovah's Witness gets served with a lawsuit, they fail to respond to the lawsuit, we get whatever we have in our complaint, our lawsuit, by a default final judgment.
Okay, so of course, different cases have different ways of doing it. In San Diego was one governing body member, I believe it was Garrett Loesch, and he was, I guess the term would be summoned to come into court, and he didn't come. So he was fined, the Watchtower was fined $400 a day. And this went on for like 3 years. I mean, have you heard of this before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the rules are different from state to state. And I don't know if this is a criminal case or a state case, but obviously $400 a day for Jehovah's Witness, I mean, that's probably what they take in 10 seconds. I mean, so there's no, that kind of penalty, unfortunately, isn't going to have it. What I do want to kind of bring to your audience's attention too is the criminal justice system, like I was saying before, unfortunately doesn't always bring justice for survivors. Whether law enforcement doesn't understand completely the depth of the organization, whether there's complicity. But I like to use the comparison of the O.J. Simpson case. Everybody remembers the O.J. Simpson case. O.J. Simpson went to a criminal trial, and beyond a reasonable doubt, he was found to be not guilty in a criminal level. Now, later, the families brought a civil lawsuit against O.J. Simpson, and he was found responsible civilly because the standard is lower in a civil case than it is for a criminal case. So even though, and that's another reason why using the civil justice system to go after Jehovah's Witnesses is going to be is helpful, because the standards are lower than they are in criminal cases. The discovery rules are much different. You don't have the same Fifth Amendments. You don't have the same speedy trial rules. There's a lot of things that are in criminal cases, and it sounds as though what happened maybe in that case was involved a criminal case. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It's in California, but I just wanted to bring that to your audience's attention as well.
Well, thank you for doing that. Now I'm learning here. I'm learning. Law has always fascinated me. There's so many angles, Travis. I give you credit, and I like your Christian position too. I like that. If I was out seeking a lawyer, I would definitely get a Christian. Go ahead. We have a caller coming in. Go ahead. I think it's a woman. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, Travis and hi, Star. I had a question. Can you talk a little bit about your experience specifically with CSA cases and how many like this one you have won?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, I mean, it's CSA cases, and we have, well, we do motel hotel cases where unfortunately children are trafficked for drugs by their parents in motels. We've got cases involving satanic ritual abuse. We've got clients who were trafficked on Epstein Island. We've got clients who were trafficked in LDS. We've got clients who are trafficked in Jehovah's Witness. We've got a sexual abuse across the state. We don't have any verdicts or wins. What you're seeing, again, we were talking about this before, is oftentimes, these cases are settled. They're settled confidentially. And that's part of the process. And my job as a lawyer is to fight for you, to advocate for you, to tell you what my crystal ball says. But in the end, it's your case. And, I have a duty to present my clients with settlement offers, and they have the right to take those settlement offers. I don't have the right to tell them what to do at that point. So the question with regards to whether it's a win or not, I think we're winning right now by bringing these cases to fruit and to bringing the light to the darkness. So, I mean, a win is a win, but I think we're winning right now.